Hi everyone, I'm Ed Orcutt, your state representative from the 18th District. I represent portions of Cowlitz and Clark counties, including Camas, Washougal, Salmon Creek, Battleground, Ridgefield, and La Center, up through Woodland, Kalama, and Toutle to the county line. I'm reporting to you from the 2009 legislative session here in Olympia. The big news this week is the release of House and Senate budgets. As I'm sure you all know, the state is facing a nearly $9 billion shortfall over the next two-year budget cycle. I believe both the House and Senate budget proposals are short-sighted, rely too much on one-time money, attempt to bait you into buying off on a tax increase, and sets us up for some budget shortfalls again in the next biennium. While Washington families are making do with less, the proposed budgets say state government should still get more. The next biennium's budget actually spends more money than the last one, even though revenues will be virtually equal to the last biennium. I wonder how many Washington families have more money to spend now than they did a year ago. I know most of you have less. Instead of streamlining government and delivering services more efficiently and more effectively, the Senate and House proposed to use nearly $5 billion in one-time federal money and state money to backfill the overspending of the last 4 years. Because we're not actually making systemic changes to the process, we're going to be right back in the same situation in the following biennium. This is just delaying the inevitable. The proposed budgets also seek to borrow money for operating expenses by transferring money from the capital budget to the operating budget. The reduction in capital budget money will be backfilled by more bonding, basically more borrowing. This just increases the amount that we already are borrowing. Finally, making the most dramatic cuts in K-12 education is, I believe, a way of making the most noise possible with the budget reductions so that they can convince the public that a tax increase is necessary to fund education. A tax increase is not needed, nor can we, basically you the taxpayers, afford it. There's no way you can afford that. Most of you, I know, a lot of you have lost jobs, you're taking wage cuts, you know, you've got a spouse that's laid off. I don't know how to make that any more clear to the people that are writing the budgets up here. There is no more money out there for you to give, and I recognize that. We can balance the budget, fund education, protect our most vulnerable without raising taxes on hardworking families just like you. Borrowing against our future, relying upon one-time money, and hoping for a tax increase at the ballot is not the type of leadership our state needs right now. I also want to let you know that the Senate version of Governor's Cap and Trade Bill, Senate Bill 5735, was voted out of the House Ecology and Parks Committee last week. I continue to have serious concerns about the costs this burdensome legislation will have employers, energy producers, and families. What's that going to do to your electricity bills in the future? I'll continue to update on this legislation as it moves through the legislative process. Also last week, the Senate introduced the transportation budget. While I continue to look through the details of the transportation budget, my initial reaction is one of disappointment as it contains a tolling study on the new I-5 bridge and on the 205 bridge as well. I know this is not what the majority of my constituents want, so I'll work to make sure the cost of the bridge doesn't take its toll on you. Another bill that has generated a lot of angst for many of you is Senate Bill 5127, which would change the Fish and Wildlife Commission. I have been working to protect citizens from the detrimental changes this bill would have on public input into the fish and wildlife management issues, as well as the issues of using Department of Fish and Wildlife managed lands. We were able to kill the bill in the House Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee, and I was getting ready to report to you that this bill appeared dead for now. But around Olympia, you never know when a dead bill is going to sprout back to life. I'm disappointed that I just learned yesterday provisions of Senate Bill 5127 have been quietly tucked into House Bill 1778, which is another bill that is still alive. I'll continue to update you on this bill's lifespan as the session continues, but I'm hoping to get that provision out of that bill. I want to thank you again for taking the time to find out what's happening here in Olympia. As always, if you have questions, concerns, ideas, please feel free to contact me. You can use my direct line at 360-786-7812. That's 360-786-7812. You can use the toll-free hotline or send a message by email. And don't forget to check my webpage for news. Again, I'm Ed Orcutt, your state representative. I want to thank you again for joining me, and have a good week.